If you want to summarize the year, and really into the next 3 years total, look at it from the perspective of two things that are happening on this planet. Two of the most important elements on this planet, maybe in the whole cosmos. And those elements are power and freedom. We've talked about it before, but now when you see something happen in the news, take a look at it from what's happening to power, what's happening to freedom in your own life. And I've talked to key hawkers about this recently. Releasing power in your life. Oh, it's confusing and scary. Well, how can you release power? And the interesting thing is you can't release just a little bit and hold on to a little bit. You release it all together, the need for power. Power is an illusion. It really doesn't exist anywhere other than in a belief system. Power is about the accumulation, the getting of energy, the fear that there might not be enough energy for you. Biggest number one human need is not food or water or money or sex. It's for energy. Energy. It then manifests in these other forms, but that is the number one human need, is getting energy. People do it through power. They think they have to force it, struggle, steal it, manipulate it, accumulate it, or anything else. Imagine going without power. It seems frightening because you live in a world that's filled with power. It's filled with people who play with power, who have used power on you, mental power, financial power, physical power on you. You say, how can I go without power? I won't have any defenses against this crazy, sometimes insane world. The fact is, without power, they're not going to see you. They play power, and that's all they see as power. When you release the power game in your own life, you become invisible to them. In other words, they go to somebody else to steal, to do all their power things with. You are then free. You don't have to play the game. They're not going to be coming after you. This year is about power and freedom in your own life and in the world. It's going to be about you giving yourself that freedom that's inherent within you, but you have a lot of overlays, a lot of issues, a lot of everything else that you've taken that very freedom away. Freedom sounds wonderful, but it's a tremendous responsibility. It sounds, oh, I'm going to be free, but free of what? Well, most of the time you think free of paying bills, free of having a boss, free of governments. But the real freedom is within, free of your past, free of your beliefs. Beliefs are kind of like power. They're an illusion. They're made up. Not that they're bad. They're a fun tool to play with, but at a certain point, they get old. That's freedom from beliefs, freedom from limitations. And again, while that sounds wonderful, it is a tremendous responsibility. Many people who are given the choice of freedom will find a lot of excuses not to accept it, not to take it. Those, to me, are the issues for 2014. There's going to be a lot going on in the world. Come back, though, to the underlying fundamental reasons for it. It's power and freedom. This year, we're also going to discover something that Tobias talked about many years ago, but actually never has really been experienced deeply, that there is no power. There is no power and no need for it. This world, and much of the other worlds, operates on the belief of power. People seek it. People try to acquire it. People try to steal it from others. Power is also, no power. Are powerless. There's no need for power. But you look at your news, watch other people. It is power games going on. Power is also a part of this whole energy dilemma that not only this world, but other parts of this universe are facing right now because of the belief in power. Power would make one feel strong and worthy, and they would feel like they had an identity, they had a purpose. So they would try to acquire power. Best way to do that is from somebody else, leading somebody else to believe that they're better than you. That's psychic power. Literally taking energy from them, getting down to the level of stealing things from them. Most people derive power through sex. Through sex. They think that it's pleasurable, but it's really a power game, really. That's why the whole experience with sex for most humans is not what it could be. That's why there's an incredible industry right now based on pills for making men with an erection that lasts 4 months or whatever that happens to be. 4 days, I don't know. I don't have that problem. I'm not in physical body. The humans and other beings, not just humans, there's a lot of aliens as well, that are in the constant power game, stealing it from others. You see it on Earth all the time. Politicians and business people and military. Every time you see a military flare-up, it's just somebody that needs a little power. That's very true. So there's this whole power game going on everywhere. The fact is, you don't need any. Fact is, actually, you really don't need any energy to exist. You're going to exist without energy. But the fact is that energy is there to serve you in great quantities. And power is a distortion or manipulation of energy. We're going to learn how to go powerless, how to literally not power into yourself, which so many of you are still doing, and not using power or getting into power with other people. Yes, it is part of the sexual energy school, an extension of that. So this year, no power, and no need for it. No need for it. Could you imagine having no need for any kind of power? Financial power, not having a need for it, or of financial lack, of health power, of biological power, of any kind of power over other people. So many of you in past experiences, past lives, got into playing with psychic energies with others, witches and all the rest of that. You learned how to use your energies, your talents, your psychic abilities with others. A lot of you are still suffering for it, because when you lay a spell on somebody, it's really laying it on you. That's the problem with witchcraft. That's why I'm not a big fan of it, because that's all you're doing is laying it on you as well. You got into this whole power thing, initially to protect yourself or defend your families or whatever, but you got into it, and it's a cycle that's hard to break out of. Power cycle is very hard to break out of. This year we're going to discover how to do it easily. Overload the circuits. Dear Shambhara, this is why you're here. You chose to be here in this lifetime as embodied consciousness. Embodied consciousness, that's it. Embodied awareness. After many lifetimes of being in the mind, many lifetimes of being in power, you chose to be here as embodied consciousness. You don't need power anymore. It'll be all around you. You'll feel it at times, and a part of you will still try at times to be in power once again, but you don't need it ever again. You'll find that there's something far grander than the mind or intelligence. It's called knowingness. It's always been there, but it's been covered up. This is where we're going. The mind will still function. The mind will still work up to a point, but we're going into knowingness. It's far more efficient and far more joyful than the mind. That's where we're going, my dear friends. Have you noticed in the past few weeks the interesting effects? You'll be talking to somebody. You'll be I would say, the older energy, having a discussion or an argument, and in the past few weeks, you just forget everything. You're just standing there, your mind totally gives out. You forget your name, you forget why you're talking to them, and suddenly nothing matters. Having one of those moments. Absolutely. That is, I have to test this out. That is, that's stuff that Calder drinks. You'd expect more and more of that. There's nothing wrong. It's absolutely appropriate because we're going beyond the mind. We're going into knowingness that's so clear and so fun. You'll look back on the mental days as being belabored, as being tedious, as being slow, and this whole game of intelligence, trying to know everything, to learn. You're done learning the facts and figures of life, because first of all, you can never learn everything, and secondly, you'll find where we're going, they don't apply. Logic does not work. Now, because you know about logic and how to use logic, you'll still be able to apply it to a degree, to the proper degree in working with others. But there's going to be no more of these head games. You know how some of you get into negotiations with others. You think that you have to do some sort of manipulation or working the program. Those days are done. Done. It's all mental. And you're just putting mental against mental. You don't have to negotiate anymore. All you have to do is take a deep breath and be in the knowingness that it's already worked out. No matter what the other person or peoples do in a negotiation, you're negotiating for a home or a car or a job or anything like that. You thought, I have to be clever here because they're going to be coming at me from their secret angle and I have to come at them. Let those days go. It's mental and it involves power. You are a being of consciousness. When working with others, you're going to find a very interesting dynamic. If you maintain the I am presence, and that dynamic is you sit down at the table, so to speak, and negotiation is already done. It's already over. You've already gotten what you came there to get. And don't be afraid of getting it, because you're never going to ask for too much, and you're never going to ask for it at the expense of another. You'll find them literally and somewhat metaphorically coming to the table and being there in service to you, as long as you're not playing that game of power and mind. Once again, you're going to remark to yourself. You're going to ask yourself, why did you ever make it so difficult, so challenging, such a battle? There are no battles at all anymore for any of you. No battles anymore. It's a cricket that's visiting us in his head. I'll squash it right now. So, it's just a cricket, I'm sure. No more battles anymore. Not even my battles with mobile phones. Isn't that a relief? Yes, no problem. No more battles, no more of that struggling like you've had in the past. So let's take a deep breath with that. Beyond power and beyond the mind. The two biggest things that were holding you back and that really, truly holding the planet back right now. No need for it. Living a powerless life is an amazing, there goes that word again, is a beautiful gift to yourself. You don't need it. There is no power in consciousness, not whatsoever. The only thing in consciousness is the awareness, I exist. There is no power in energy at all. Energy is just something that's here to serve you. It's compressed consciousness. It's yours. It's there to create whatever realities you're choosing to create. The hardest part is going to be you're still in this realm. It'd be different if you were off in your own sovereign domain somewhere, but then if you were, you'd be dead. So you're going to be, one of the challenges, you're going to see power and mind all around you, and you'll even remember when you used it. It's not good, like it's going to vanish or evaporate. It's simply not going to be a factor anymore. You're going to see power, particularly in this year, in the world around you, and people playing those games. But the best way to handle power is to have none. Because those who work with power and work with the mind seek others who work with power and work with the mind. They won't see you unless you're there of your choosing, of your desire for your creations. And then they are there to serve you. It's a tall order, something many of you are still not totally comfortable with yet, but you will be going forward. Let's take a deep breath with that. Next, I promised we're going to talk about two trends. These are world trends. And we're going to go through them very, very quickly. The first you know about, and it's not from Tobias, it's from me. One of the biggest trends in the world right now is power. Everybody's into power, whether they realize it or not. Accumulation of power. It can be done through money, politics, government, sex, industry, commerce, religion. It's all about power. There is a massive drive on this planet for power. Not only that, but the desire for power on this planet is actually causing beings from other realms, not little men in spaceships, but other beings to take a particular interest in this planet because there is this obsession with power going on. You see it everywhere, but it's more than ever. It's showing up. Read between the lines or listen between the lines in the news about the events. Stop for a moment and say, well, how is this about power? You're going to realize that almost everything that is occurring out there is about the game of power. I think you have a popular TV show series called Game of Thrones, kind of the same thing, but game of power. It's the shifting and moving of power. Power is an illusion. There is no power in the clear realms. There's no need for power. I'm not talking about energy power, the thing that, gasoline to put in your car to make it go. That's fuel. I'm talking about psychological power, mental power, and it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow. Humans are addicted to power more than anything else. It's actually almost impossible. I'd say it is impossible to get addicted to a physical substance. Alcohol, tobacco, drugs. Physically impossible to get addicted. There are those who will argue with me about that, but you can get addicted to power in a variety of different and sometimes insidious ways. You can get addicted to power and then use that addiction in things like drugs and alcohol, or use drugs or alcohol to try to kill that pain of power. Oddly enough, it's pleasurable and it's painful. But you're going to see it more and more and more on this planet. Please realize for yourself, as you go forward, that there's no need for power. There is not. There are those who I've talked to in our nightly sessions, and they will argue. They will compromise. They will say, okay, I'll reduce my power need. But I still have to have some as a protection against other humans because they're playing power. Therefore, I need some. No. It's either all or nothing, kinda. All or nothing. Power is an illusion. Power is making a statement that you believe there are things that you need to get from outside of yourself. And you don't. Not one single thing. All the energy or the attractant for energy is already there. Particularly once you start using it. Keper, your creative, your spirit, already there. But if you're still addicted to power, and that's going to be the focus of my portion of the talk in August, if you're still addicted to power, you will still try to be gaining more power and securing that power. In other words, you've got to You got to bring some power in and hold it in your power bank. Once you realize that power is an illusion, you don't need it in your life. You become invisible to those who play with power. They are not interested in you whatsoever. They are not going to try to come in and take anything from you because there's no food in the pantry. There's nothing there. They're not interested. You're not a player. They're going to ask you to get away from the table because you're not a player. You don't have anything in your pockets. That's when you're free, truly free. Power is the greatest and perhaps you could say the only true addictive force on this planet. It's an illusion. Once you go beyond the need for power in your personality, in your life, you'll be free. You realize you don't need any power. Energy is always going to be there. It's a natural thing. When you're in consciousness, there's energy. When you're passionate, there's energy. You don't need power. It's very, very false. My point is that the human self cannot possibly know what to do or even imagine what is coming next. And this I ammer is coming next. I mean, it's in the mail. It's coming your way. It's not even a gift from me. It's you to yourself. And when you get it, get the hell out of the way. Your human self out of the way. You just saw what happens in a very, very, couldn't have scripted it better. When the human stops and thinks it's limited, and we're going where there are no limitations. I don't need the human to go, but I need the I am to go. When you get this gift of the I am, and I'm very serious, that it neutralizes emotions. It attracts energies. It allows you to be wherever you choose to be without thinking about it, without trying to conjure it or imagine it, because you can't. The human can't. So let your I am, let the real you come forth. It knows what to do. It knows exactly what it's like to automatically attract energy. Without holding back, without going into power, without having lame, limited human desires for what it can do, it knows what to do with all that energy. You, the part that's more than just human, can be anywhere, anytime. It is so easy. You don't have to go to mystery school to know how to do it. Putting the consciousness anywhere, but if it is the human efforting, empowering to do it, you will get nowhere other than to frustration. Because the human, as you saw in this example, doesn't really understand, doesn't know, can't break the imagination. And what it desires is so very human. And I'm not knocking the human. I am one at this same moment. I am an ascended master. It's the most glorious experience. But it can also hold you back if that's all you're allowing yourself to be. You saw in this beautiful, I couldn't have done it better myself, example of limitation, of fear, of macchio, of no inspiration. So please, human, when this comes to you, the I ammer, get out of the way so that all of you can go to this next level. There's no power in here. This will disintegrate when used for power. So please get out of your way. Good. Let's take a good deep breath with that. Oh. I want to do two things right now. We don't have a lot of time, but we have all the time in the world. It's both. It's and. Shit's never one. Never, ever, ever again should it be one or the other. It's always and. And that's what's going to differentiate you from other people. And it's going to, what I say, in about 6 months from now, you're going to get mad and say, how come you didn't tell us this sooner? So right now, I'd like the lights down. We're going to do 2 experiences. The first one I'd like to do with you, trying to decide which to do first. So we're a very short one here, but because we don't need a lot of time for it. We're going to walk on beyond power, beyond power. So John will want the alternative track, not the first one that was composed just for today. But I want to do a brief experience. It's kind of like a dream walk, but it's you walking with yourself. So take a good deep breath here and remember the I amer. It allows you to be anywhere you choose to be. Maybe not with your physical body, maybe not with your brain, but the I amer lets you be wherever you want. There's no will, there's no force. We're moving now into a whole new era. It's called without power. And as I said earlier, it's not, you don't try to keep one foot in power and one out. You simply go beyond. Power is an illusion from those who don't understand that their consciousness creates all the energy that's ever needed for everything. Nothing needs to be gotten outside. Nothing needs to be taken from others. All energy is already within. As we go beyond power, you're entering into a whole different world, very different world. It's a very liberating and freeing world. And you realize that you naturally attract energy. You realize that you always have been. But maybe not the kind that you were consciously choosing. You realize that never again do you need to look to anyone else for energy. That you naturally attract from your field, from the universal field, from wherever, it doesn't matter, but you naturally attract it. It comes to you. To use a bit of an analogy, kind of a cliche, but it's a difference between getting up in the morning, feeling hungry, having to go outside and hunt an animal for your food, and then skin it, uncook it, and then finally eat it. That's kind of what it's been like, and it's what it's like for most people, having to chase after everything. The difference here is, in the powerless life, you get up in the morning and you feel that really wonderful sense of being a little hungry. You know, it's very sensual. Oh, feed the body, it feels so good. You go and open the front door, and the meal is already there, sitting there, cooked, ready to go. Whatever it is you want. And the human mind is going to try to jump right away and say, well, how did this get here? And is there anything suspicious about it? Is this some sort of trick? And you're going to say, human, shut up. Eat. You've attracted this. It's come to you. That's the powerless life. Years and years ago, I think it was Adamus, or Tobias, I'm Adamus. Tobias, that said, it comes to you. It comes to you, and it does. Going beyond power, it just comes to you. It's a very, very different reality, and you can't try to control it or manage it. The powerless life means the realization that everything is there and going to be there. You're going to have a part of your humanness that is screaming out, saying, but you don't understand. What if? I've tried this before and it didn't work. My friends, it's kind of a now or never. It's kind of trust or go back. So we enter this era, this dimension, this consciousness of the powerless life. Don't do anything right now, please. If you're wondering, well, what do I have to do? How hard do I have to work at this? Don't. You're already there. Do you understand that? You're already there. This isn't magic. This is just consciousness. There's no effort in it. There's no trying to figure it out. There's no analysis. There's not even focusing. You're already there. And that's the amazing thing. It was done without power. Now, the only thing the human needs to do is allow it. That's it. So take a deep breath. You are now in the powerless life. When you find yourself, your human self, saying, yeah, but what if? Just shh. You're in the powerless life. You don't need to work at it. You're just there. Now watch how things change, how they're different. This is not hard work. There's no effort. You're just there. Now, let yourself experience it. I know you have flying through your head right now, but what if, and how should I do it? What? Shh. That's just that human voice. But remember, it's the and. A life where consciousness, the I am, attracts everything that's needed. It attracts it. Let's take a deep breath. As we segue into the next part of what I wanted to do with you today, let's take a deep breath.